Alright, what is up guys? This is Mateo's 2020 Politics here, and today I'm gonna be discussing the biggest case on the news, which is of course the whole Iran-US deal. And you might be wondering, why haven't I made a video on this yet? Well, the issue with my interest in politics is that I'm not too interested in foreign issues, so it doesn't really interest me. But after a while, I was just like, okay, there's too much stuff going on. This is getting really important. I gotta make a video on this. As of now, I'm making this video on January 8th, 2020. And just fun fact, whenever a video comes out onto my channel, I made it the same exact day. So if I made this on the 8th, it's probably going to come out on the 8th. There isn't like a 1-day delay or anything. So the whole Iran attacks U.S. base in Iraq thing, I already know about it. It came on the news yesterday, and it'll be mentioned later in this video. So we have a very long video to get to. It'll probably be above 10 minutes, because I have a bunch of points here for my little script, because I have lots of catching up to do. So, first we have a U.S. airstrike killed General Qasem Soleimani of Iran, and he was a beloved figure by Iran and the countries around Iran, and you can see that there's outcry and almost like guilt, no, not guilt, sorry, I would say that the countries around Iran, especially Iran itself, is kind of taken over by a feeling of mourning. They're really sad and upset about the death of Qasem Soleimani. You can even say that they're in the grief stage right now. And he was, again, a very influential figure. Now, for all the kids out there who are either in my school or out of my school, because somehow I think I told one of my friends in school about my YouTube channel, and now the kids are all watching from my school. So, dear any kids who are making World War III memes on Twitter or whatever, and talking about World War III, don't be scared, because World War III is not going to happen. Iran has said they're not going to declare war in the U.S., and there's no signs that Trump's going to say he's going to declare war in Iran. I must have gotten confused, because I'm actually going to mention Vietnam later in this video to compare it to Iran, see how the war would kind of work out. So yeah, dear anybody who is a bit apolitical, or you're just a kid and you're wondering if there's going to be World War III, there's not going to be World War III. They wouldn't start a whole war over one person dying. Although it is important, they're not going to start a war and risk millions of people dying from around the globe just over one general. So, next we have Iranians were chanting a few days ago, "Death to America, death to America." And honestly, I don't mean to sound overly patriotic, but that kind of looks ridiculous. Because, look, if one of the U.S. generals were killed, I'm not going to go on the street, film a video and say, "Death to Iran! Death to Iran! Death to Iran!" I'm just not going to do that. It's ridiculous. It's almost kind of dumb. So, again, even if I were to attempt to put myself in the shoes of an Iranian person who is going through the grief stage of General Soleimani dying, I wouldn't go out on the street and start chanting "Death to America." Like, what? So, next, I believe that the whole apology, or if you can call it an apology thing, with the Prime Minister of Iran basically saying, look, when my people chant "Death towards America," we just mean it to people like Mike Pompeo, Mike Pence, Donald Trump, and John Bolton. So what I say to that whole, thing he said, what the heck, I'm not making sense today. So, my response to the claim made of, oh, when my people chant "Death towards America," they just mean it towards Donald Trump and everybody else who's in charge of the United States, not the American people themselves. My response is, come on, man. You don't have to make up excuses for your people's actions. Like, you don't have to go like, look, bro, when my people say that, they wish death towards America, they just mean it towards your leaders. They don't mean it towards the people. I mean, come on, I'm sorry, please, just... You understand, right? Don't you? Okay? No, you don't have to make up excuses. And by the way, he didn't actually speak like that. I was just exaggerating. He doesn't have to make up excuses. If I were in his shoes, I would have said something like, "Dear United States, I apologize for what my people have been saying. Know that they don't mean it, as we're just going through the grief stage of General Soleimani's death. I mean, don't wish any harm towards the U.S. My people are just upset about his death, of course, but, you know, I still don't understand why the Prime Minister has to come out and basically act like, oh, it's justified for his people to wish death towards my country of America. I mean, again, even if I were the U.S. president, and when people were to come out after when the generals were assassinated, and they were going to come out and they were to start saying, death towards Iran, death towards Iran, I wouldn't be like, come on, Iran, they just mean it towards your leaders, not your people. I would straight up just disavow what my people are saying. I would say, look, guys, don't say that. Don't wish death towards a country. So, I mean, yeah, I'm honestly kind of upset at what the Prime Minister of Iran said, because it sounded more like he was trying to make up an excuse for words people were saying, and less like he was actually trying to make a formal, almost subtle apology. And yeah, so once again, if I were in the Iranian president's shoes, or prime minister, don't know, what I would say is, look, we don't mean any harm towards you guys. We don't ever wish death towards your country. We are just upset over General Soleimani's death. Please excuse what my people have been saying. They don't mean it. You don't have to make up excuses and just say, oh, we just mean it towards your leaders, not your people. Because even then, you're just saying death towards your leaders. I'm like, even that's kind of extreme. That shouldn't be justified. Next, we have if Donald Trump should apologize for this. My answer is yes, but it seems like it's a bit too late to. The day after General Soleimani was killed, Trump could have apologized for it. But we all know who Trump is. He never apologizes for anything. I don't think I've ever seen him apologize one time on TV. Ever. Like, I've never seen him in the whole history of his life ever apologize. He's just a really stubborn and egocentric guy, so of course he's not going to apologize for his actions, and he should. You don't go to another country, and assassinate their top general. It just doesn't make any sense. And the thing is that it's disputed over whether that action is illegal or legal. So whenever a possible action that you're considering committing is disputed in terms of it being legal or illegal, just don't do it. You don't want to get yourself into trouble with the law. So yeah, it might be too late to apologize for his death, but I still think Trump should do it. Maybe it would stop the tensions, but we all know he's not. Next, a positive update. Iran attacked a U.S. military base in Iraq, and the total casualties from the U.S. side were a grand total of 0. Total injured, 0. So honestly, I don't really know what Iran's doing. If they try to attack a U.S. base and end up killing and injuring 0 people. Now, I talked to some people about this whole case, and some people actually believe that Iran didn't really mean to kill anybody. They were just trying to, create a show, just trying to scare the U.S., just give them a good old scare, not trying to actually cause any harm. So, yeah, I'm happy nobody was harmed. Because although I don't support the military, if you were in the military and you were in that camp, it must have been pretty scary for you. I could sympathize with that. Now, here's the worst scenario. What if a war were to break out? That would not be good. Because multiple countries would, take sides. NATO would side with the U.S. Some other close allies like Japan, South Korea, and Australia would probably side with the United States. But then we also run the risk of countries like Russia, who would definitely side with Iran, and possibly a country like China would side with Iran, and some other Middle Eastern countries. But the main, worry would be Russia and China. So, but then on the other hand, we also might have an upper hand in the Middle East with countries like Israel and Saudi Arabia. But overall, I don't want a war to break out. We should just end the conflict. Trump should apologize. That's it. What the U.S. did was wrong, and it shouldn't prompt a war. But knowing Trump, he's a bit impulsive. That's why he shouldn't have his hands on the nuclear code, because we don't know what can go on inside of his head because he's so impulsive. So, now, let's, speak about a very unrealistic scenario. Let's just create a scenario where the United States and Iran just went head-to-head with no other countries involved. It was just a one-on-one boxing match, I guess you could describe it as. So first of all, this scenario is just impossible. There's no way it's just going to be the U.S. and Iran. Of course, some other countries would join both sides. But assuming we were in a different universe and it was just the U.S. and Iran going head-to-head, the U.S. would win relatively easily. It wouldn't be like just an easy squash, take a few weeks, but it also wouldn't be hard. It would just be kind of an average war, just an average defeat. I don't really have, if it were one-on-one, there isn't really any scenario where I could see that would involve Iran beating the U.S. It just isn't possible. Like, really, imagine Iran beating the U.S. And once again, this is a one-on-one scenario. It's not involving any allies. So, the U.S. would defeat Iran relatively easily in a one-on-one scenario. And some of you guys might say, but Mateo, remember the Vietnam War? Vietnam was a small country, and some could argue it's even weaker than Iran is. But the U.S. lost against Vietnam. Now, what I say to that is, you are half correct, in the sense that, yes, the U.S. withdrew from Vietnam, but if you look at the actual statistics and you dive deeper into the whole war, for every 4 Vietnamese soldiers killed, only 1 U.S. soldier was killed. So basically 4-1. It's a good ratio for the U.S. Don't mean to sound really competitive, but yeah. So you could argue that if it weren't for the protests back at home in the U.S. with the Americans going against the war in Vietnam, that the U.S. could have defeated Vietnam, although it was a pretty slow and dragged out war. So yeah, the U.S. did withdraw from Vietnam, but it was just because of outcry back at home for the U.S. to withdraw. And then Nixon conceded to what the American people wanted, and he withdrew from Vietnam. If it weren't for that, I don't know what would have really happened. Personally, I think the U.S. would have defeated Vietnam, but it wouldn't have been easy. Because, of course, Vietnam had the backing of Russia and China, but when we get into a scenario of the U.S. and Iran going head-to-head, with no other countries involved, the U.S. would probably win. And especially knowing Trump, he probably wouldn't listen to the American people, even if they were protesting against the war. So there wouldn't be any, as President of the United States, I will withdraw from Iran because the American people want me to withdraw. Trump is not going to do that, ever. So he'll probably just keep invading Iran until it is fully annexed by the United States. So, yeah, guys, overall summary of the video: a U.S. airstrike killed an Iranian general named Qasem Soleimani. He was a very influential and beloved figure. World War III is not going to happen. This just isn't really enough to cause a World War III. One death of a general. It's just enough to cause rising tensions, almost to the boiling point of an actual war. Iran's are chanting death to America. This makes them look ridiculous because I wouldn't come out and say death to Iran if my general were killed. It's kind of strange that the Iranian prime minister, or rather leader, came out to kind of half defend his people, make up excuses for what they were saying, about death to America. And he said things like, oh, you know what? My people don't mean death to the American people. You see, they just mean it towards the president and people like John Bolton and Mike Pompeo. No hard feelings, man. No, just straight up disavow what your people were saying. Say, I'm sorry for what they've been saying. We're just going through a grief process. Now, the next point was that Trump should apologize for what he did, just to kind of ease down the tensions, but we all know Trump is never going to apologize for anything. Iran attacked the U.S. base in Iraq, killing and injuring 0 soldiers. Once again, I am starting to believe the whole theory of Iran wasn't really trying to kill anybody in that attack with those missiles. They were just trying to give us a good old stare. If a war would hypothetically break out, multiple countries would take sides. We run the risk of Russia and China joining the Iranian side, which I don't really see any winner in that. It would just end in nuclear disaster. But one-on-one, the U.S. would defeat Iran relatively easily. Once again, as I made my point earlier, the U.S. did withdraw from Vietnam, but that's just because there were massive protests back in the United States, basically telling President Nixon to resign. And during the actual war itself, when you dive deep into the statistics, for every 4 Vietnamese soldiers killed, only 1 United States soldier was killed. So, my overall stance in this overall case is, once again, Trump has to apologize. What we did was wrong. Iran, I'm sorry. And I'm honestly feeling kind of embarrassed because how does the world view us? Honestly, we went from President Obama, one of the most peaceful guys in the United States. He sure wasn't a saint. Alright, he wasn't a saint. He was still involved in all those drone strikes. Damn it, Mateo's mouth. Great, now I'm lost. No, I'm not. So yeah, Obama did order all those drone strikes in Iraq and Syria, which were kind of wrong. But when you compare him to Trump, he's just a saint, man. So I'm honestly feeling embarrassed because Iran must be like, the U.S., what are you doing? You're making a fool of yourself to the rest of the world. And all the countries laughing at us are saying, what's wrong with you? Why'd you elect this guy? So dear any countries out there who are basically thinking, what's wrong with the American people? How could you elect Trump? We didn't. He lost the popular vote by 3 million. Something many people forget. So, I am embarrassed about what we did. We shouldn't have killed Qasem Soleimani. It was a mistake. Trump should apologize. Let's ease down the tensions. I don't want a war to break out. We just shouldn't ever let millions of people die. We should always stop a World War III from breaking out. So, thank you for watching this video, guys. See you guys later. If any news comes out about the whole Iranian-U.S. deal in terms of tensions, like a new attack or something pops up, I'll make a video on it. See you guys later, and bye.